You know, I just say hire Dwayne Johnson to take over all these failing action franchises because The Rock. G.I. Joe Retaliation is the sequel to the truly awful G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra. Yes, I really hated that movie. I saw it in theaters. I hated it. I really did not like that movie. It was directed by Steven Sommers, and that movie just, G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra. Whew. This movie is directed by someone new, John M. Chu. Now, he directed a few step-up movies. Now, you may be thinking, oh boy, that's not a good sign. But I will say that despite the fact that those movies are also really silly, cheesy, teenage drama films, they look great. Like, those step-up movies look fantastic with really slick direction, especially the third one. So with this movie, all I wanted was for it to be better than the last one. That's honestly all I wanted. Just please be better than the last one. Now, the plot of this film is essentially all of the G.I. Joes, just about, are wiped out. There's only a few remaining ones. The Rock is now the leader of these people, and he has to go out and try to fight against Cobra, who's taken over the White House. You got Snake Eyes in there, you got Storm Shadow, and even Bruce Willis as Joe himself. And they're gonna go to war against Cobra to retaliate against the people who killed their friends. So is this movie better than the first one? Yes, I really do think it is. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a good movie? I wouldn't even say that. It's just a completely mindless action film. Is it a terrible movie? I could see why you would say that. If you walked out of this movie and thought it was awful, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would just be like, oh, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. I, for one, found the film to be a watchable, mindless movie experience because I didn't go into G.I. Joe Retaliation expecting Schindler's List because I know that it's a movie based off of toys and a cartoon from the 80s. In other words, it's Transformers. So, you know, there are tons of problems with this movie. There are characters in the film that I don't even really know what the confrontations are about because I think you actually kind of have to know a little bit about the cartoon and those characters to be able to understand some of the depths behind these people's emotions and who they don't like and who's fighting who and who is good and who is bad. There's times in the movie where it's a little confusing for someone who isn't entirely versed in G.I. Joe lore like myself. And I only saw the first film once back in 2009 because I never wanted to experience again. There's a few times in this movie I was watching and I was like, wait, what? But for the most part, this really is just a mindlessly fun, entertaining film, and it's directed much better than the first one. You can actually see some of the action, which is cool. The first one was just like, what was going... I remember a CGI polar bear in the first one. That was in there, I think, yeah. That's what stands out about the first one to me, a CGI polar bear. That's saying something. In this film, there is actually some good action sequences that are fun. Yes, all of the technology in this film does not exist anywhere on this planet. And the political scenes in the film are... if anyone actually thinks that's how the government works... Good things in this film are the fact that it is watchable and entertaining, in my opinion. It's a fun experience despite the fact that it is extremely dumb. Dwayne Johnson is the best part of this movie. He's great. He really is doing really well. He's kind of becoming this generation's action hero. And I thought he did great in this movie too for what he needed to be. He was funny, he was likable, and he was good in the action scenes. Now, one of my major issues with this movie isn't really a spoiler, but I'm going to act like it is simply because I don't know if you've watched the trailer. If you've seen the trailer for this movie, you know that certain characters do not make it that long in this movie. If you haven't seen the trailer, I won't say who it is. As the film starts out, there's a great camaraderie on display between a few of the characters, and I really liked the direction the film was taking, and it was really entertaining and very funny, and I liked the back and forth. Now, as I told you, a lot of the G.I. Joes get wiped out, and when some of those characters got removed, I thought the film lost something. I thought that maybe if there was a way they could have kept some of those characters around for much longer, perhaps maybe even longer into the film or even the whole movie, I think the film would have been better and more entertaining. There was really good chemistry between some of these characters, and I missed that when those characters weren't around anymore. I understand the movie had to have that Agent Coulson moment. You know, the moment in the Avengers where everyone was like, oh, it's on. It just got real now. This movie had to have one of those moments to get the characters to do what they had to do. I just wish that maybe it was different. Bruce Willis's inclusion in the film is extremely minimal. He really doesn't have that much to do in this movie. You can tell that he was just maybe there for a few days of supporting work and everything, and now he's on all the posters. It's nice to have his presence there. He certainly doesn't detract from the movie, it's just he's not really there that much. As I said, Dwayne Johnson's character, Roadblock, he's really entertaining, but his two partners, Flint and Lady Jane, they're like completely underdeveloped. I don't care at all about them. They could have all been shot early on in the film and I wouldn't have really cared. at all. Lady Jane honestly looks like a porn star throughout half of this movie, and I could not take her seriously at all. Nevertheless, I did have an enjoyable time watching this movie. It was mindless entertainment. Is it gonna make me like the biggest G.I. Joe fan in the world? No, but I did have a good time watching the film for the most part, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B-. I'm not gonna say rush out and see this movie. I'm gonna say that if you wanted to see a G.I. Joe movie that is better than the first one, you probably will. Is it a great movie at all? No. But it's definitely not trying to be anything that it's not. Also, the 3D was fine. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't anything great, but it wasn't really a deterrence to the movie. I don't know if it was necessary. I would say you could see it in 2D or 3D and be perfectly fine with that. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.